And the number of people killed in flooding in Fiji has risen to 5, and thousands are still sheltering in evacuation centres.
But officials are relieved that a passing tropical cyclone hasn't brought any more bad weather. For more, Radio Australia reporter Bruce Hill joins us on the phone now from Fiji. Bruce, good morning to you. What's the latest on the weather situation there this morning?
Well, we didn't get too much rain from the edge of Tropical Cyclone Daphne overnight, which a lot of people are very relieved about. The weather forecast is for not really the incessant pouring rain that have brought the floods, but perhaps just some nuisance showers, which are not really expected to worsen the situation any greatly. I do have a little bit of an update on the death toll for you. Unfortunately, the latest radio broadcast here in Fiji says the death toll has risen to 7, with the death of a 1-month-old baby and a 3-year-old who apparently drowned in floodwaters. And this is a problem. Parents are being told to keep an eye on their kids, because kids see these big swollen rivers and think, hello, is a big swimming pool, and they've got to be told, don't do that, it's insanely dangerous.
And that's truly awful news there, Bruce. Is there a feeling, though, at the same time that Fijians have dodged a bullet with Cyclone Daphne not barrelling anywhere near land?
Yes, this flood disaster was bad enough in its own. The Prime Minister, Frank Bainimarama, said yesterday that it looks like these floods are about 3 or 4 times worse than they were in 2009. All the local people I've spoken to here have definitely said worse than 2009, and many have said they've never seen anything this bad. But if we'd had a direct hit from a tropical cyclone on top of that, that's certainly something that Fiji could have done without. And it looks as though, it may not have necessarily dodged the bullet, but it's only grazed us. So there's some thanks being given for the fact that there's no more extra rain going into the rivers, and so that's at least some semi-good news.
There are at least 2,000 Australian tourists stranded in Fiji. Bruce, we've heard from the Australian government that planes are starting to bring at least some of those tourists back to Australia.
What we've been told is that you can, in fact, get to Nadi International Airport by road now. They have thrown up a bridge across the southern end of Nadi town, across the Nadi River. At last report, it was only one lane, but at least you can, in fact, get there. Nadi International Airport is, we are told, operating as normal today, and the Fiji government has lifted its ban on flights arriving with tourists. They're now saying, yes, Fiji is open for business and you can all come in. And so we're told essentially from today everything's operating as normally, but because of the cyclone, there may be some delays to normal traffic.
And Bruce, how are authorities on the ground in Fiji coping with disaster relief?
They're doing their best, and people do know, where their evacuation centres are and what to do in the case of emergency. I've had plenty of practice over the last few years. At last count, there were almost 12,000 people in emergency evacuation centres. The actual number is 11,994, most of them in the western part of Fiji, but it is starting to affect the other parts of Viti Levu as well. I've got to say that despite the fact that they had plenty of practice and they're very aware of the danger of flooding, and they had supplies positioned and people ready to go, the sheer scale of this is just enormous. And I think that any international assistance that's offered by Australia, New Zealand and other countries will be very gratefully received.
OK, Bruce Hill in Fiji, thank you very much for the update this morning.
My pleasure, Michael.